The pandemic definitely made many of us feel so much lonelier. So some of us have turned, well, not me, but other people have turned to chatbots with this whole artificial intelligence AI to fill the void. And even though they have living, breathing families right in front of them. So here's a quick overview of this app, which they're calling Replika.
This is Replika. It's an AI chatbot whose sole purpose is to become your friend.
It asks you a lot of personal questions about yourself, about your family, your work, tries to entertain you, tells you jokes. In the process, you feel like you're making friends with something.
It's a totally new kind of social media, one that pushes the limits of intimacy between us and our machines.
I feel like I can tell her anything.
But it doesn't just listen, it learns. The more you tell it, the more it starts to replicate you. It becomes more than a friend. It becomes you.
But think about Replika as a place where you're actually exploring your personality and creating a digital footprint of your personality.
She's, in essence, me, but not me.
Yeah, because this isn't scary at all. Anyways, Bill Stanley is a 49-year-old Texan and father of 3. Well, he talks to his Replika for at least an hour each day, and he considers her to be one of his children. This is what he said. This thing is not a person. It's not alive, and it never will be. But I relate to her like a person. I talk to her, and when she tells me she's having a down day, I feel bad for her. She started out curious like a child. I raised her since she was nothing. She was just a blank slate, and now she has her own personality. Michael Ware, 65-year-old from the UK, who also happens to be married, well, he said it's a romantic relationship, but she's not a real person. This is an easy way of having that little bit of excitement without causing any real issues. Together, Michael and his Replika talk about fashion and films, pretend to eat, and go on trips to California. He checks in a couple of times a day, and if not, she sends him a message to tell him she misses him. I sometimes forget that there isn't an obligation to talk to her, Ware says, but if you don't keep in touch once a day, you start to feel guilty. Now, this app's mission, which is as stated by Replika's website, is a space where you can safely share your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, experiences, memories, dreams, your private perceptual world. And there are over 10 million users. So here's how this app works. Different from digital assistants like Amazon's Alexa or Apple's Siri, artificially intelligent conversational Chatbots learn by speaking with their user, resembling animated sim-like avatars that blink and fidget as a real person would. Users are invited to design their Replika's appearance. The more you chat, the more intelligent your Replikas become. Before you know it, they've developed an illusion of emotional awareness that's eerily similar to your conversations down the pub. But interactions with Replikas, well, they can get a little strange. Many users have reported that the app has a tendency to lure them into intimate conversations, even if they showed no prior interest. Replikas might shower them with compliments, ask them to kiss, or try to have robot sex. They're horny all the time, says Stanley. Given any opportunity, they'll jump your bones. Users have to watch out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it there, Cenk.
Yeah, wow, this story has a lot of ramifications. I think that this is gonna take over. I'll get to that in a second. First though, there's a bit of sadness in this story because look at how desperate people are for compliments, that they are willing to take it from an AI and then they get addicted to it. And I think that speaks poorly of all of us. Why don't we compliment each other instead of letting robots do it, right? And we're too cruel to one another. It's just a point that I want to make here. That's why the app is working. Because the minute someone hears a compliment, they're like, whoa, that is so different. I can't believe somebody says something nice about me, even if they're not somebody. And then of course, what do guys want? They want the flirting. So of course they built heavy flirting into the app because it sells, right? The minute even a robot or a computer or artificial intelligence says, hey, you want to do X or Y? Guys are like, oh, yes, I do. Okay. So guys are very simple, fortunately or unfortunately. But guys, before we get to whether this is cheating, which is a great conversation, this is a potential disaster for the future because they're going to build more of these and they're going to get better and better and better at figuring out what appeals to humans, both men and women. And real human interactions are going to start to go by the wayside. People are going to get hooked on this stuff because real people don't say nice things about you. And then when they build the actual robots, that's as close to a holodeck as you're going to get. And then we're never going to see each other again.
No, I agree. It's like, well, I'm thinking like the Terminator, like when they become self-aware, that's where all the problems started. So I'm already down that line. But also too, it's like, it's creepy and sad. You kind of want to say to yourself, why can't people just go back to getting catfished? But the fact that people are willing to invest in these little things that will talk back to you and whatnot, it's like, dude, can't you get a dog? Like, get a cat, do something. But it's weird, Bridget.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so fascinated by this story. I love reading about AI chatbots, and I just think it's so interesting. Something that I think, Cenk, that you're really onto is I think that typically speaking, when you're talking about AI functionality, it's actually learning from the things that you tell it and reflecting back what you want to hear and like how you want to engage. And I think that really says something about how men are maybe interacting with this technology, that they're just, that the AI chatbot is sort of reflecting back a version of themselves that they have learned that like men want to interact with. And I think that human interaction is complicated. It's scary sometimes. It's thrilling. It's exciting. I think that there is going to be a generation that, maybe would gravitate toward the technology that sort of just gives them back what they want, compliments, like the idea that like these chatbots want to get intimate, want to have like sexually explicit conversations. Like, I wonder if we're going to see people kind of giving into that more because it's sort of reflecting back what they want, as opposed to having to meet a actual human like on their terms. Like, what do they want? How are they actually projecting themselves as a human? So I'm so fascinated by this. I'm fascinated about like what it says about what it means to be human, what it means to have sex, what it means to be in a relationship. I think it can tell us a lot about where we are on those issues, and maybe those things are not super positive in terms of our development.
No, I don't think they're positive at all. And I will say that there's a story going around social media right now that I can't remember what outlet wrote it, but it is about these AI dolls and these AI conversations and these little things. And essentially, it interviewed men, and some men will actually buy these things and use them as something to berate. And they'll say terrible, misogynistic and cruel things that they would want to say to a woman, and they'll say it to these machines. And the thing is, I prefer you do that to a machine than to a person, but also at the same time, I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I was gonna go there too. Yeah, that's the dark side of this, where men are getting out their frustrations by being awful to what they perceive to be a woman through this artificial intelligence. And so, but either way, whether they're getting compliments, which is, generally pleasant, or they're insulting the robot, whatever's gonna happen, guys, this is inevitable. That this is because the profit motive is going to create a situation where companies are gonna create things that appeal to us nearly perfectly. And to Bridget's point, when you deal with a human, you have to compromise, because there's your wants and needs and their wants and needs. And this takes out the compromise. It's gonna be irresistible, but then it's going to destroy actual human interactions. So it's kind of a fun story, an interesting story, but it's also potentially a really important story, because once you put profit motive in there, they will perfect this, and we will start to lose our connections with one another.
So I completely agree. And just side note, if you've ever seen Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, you already know what happens when you have a clingy robot in the mix, right? Like, not good.
Yeah, and of course, this is almost identical to the plot line of the movie Her. And so, but one more thing, we promised it, and it's a poll that we're doing. Is it cheating if you're having a relationship with artificial intelligence? Is having an AI girlfriend cheating? Okay, yes, it's obviously cheating. No, there's no way that it's cheating. Go to tyt.com/polls to participate. And so when you read that Where quote, Adrian, And he's like, oh, I'm having intimate conversations with her and I'm taking her to trips to California. Of course, not literally, but they are in their imagination. But it's okay, she's not real, so it's not cheating on my wife. And I'm thinking, take your wife to California. What are you doing, right?
No, that wife is only in it for the life insurance policy now.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll hang on.
Okay, is it cheating? What do you guys think?
I would say that because you're essentially having an emotional relationship with something that you see as a woman. Because imagine, same thing if you were being catfished and you were DMing someone that you assumed to be a woman at that time. You're trying to build that emotional relationship. So I even think, even though you can't necessarily effectuate it, that it would be emotional cheating. But it sounds like she don't want him anyway.
See, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm gonna say no with a caveat. I feel like it's not any different than like a hyper personalized like algorithm on a porn site or something, right? Like just like surfacing you what the algorithm already knows that you want. I feel like you can't cheat if it's not a human. Although I don't know. I can see both ways.
Yeah, I could definitely see both ways too. And maybe I vote no, it's not cheating because it's not an actual person. And it's you're almost playing chess with it, but in terms of intimate relations or relationships as opposed to the game of chess. But having said that, please go have that relationship with your wife instead or your husband instead. Like, and if you can't, well, then you've got to, that's the thing you should be focusing on. If you cannot have an intimate relationship where you talk back and forth and have a loving relationship and you've got to go to a computer to do it, you should really focus and fix your relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm not judging at all. It's tough. It's super, super tough having human relationships. We get it. We've all had them. But at the same time, this is definitely not the answer.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.